Nafure kukua Nairobi, Nafure kukua Kenya for 4 years now. Mimi ni moja wenu. Mimi ni moja wenu. So now that I have exhausted all my Swahili, let me bring my fine panelists over here. It's going to be a great conversation. We are going to see how ideas are turned into solutions, social business solutions and impact. And who do I start with? My friend, Daniel Ayebare, from all the way from Uganda. Come up on stage. And next, Daniel is the founder and managing director of iAfrica Foundation, if I got that right. Have a seat, sir. And we have with us then Maria Palmieri, the managing partner of Grameen Creative Lab. Maria, all the way from Italy. One of the great minds of the young generation of social business. Have a seat, ma'am. Then we have Sadia Zahid, the Chief Operating Officer of Sadia Hussain, oh my God, of Viva Ventures. And last but not least, all the way from Manhattan, New York, my favorite American in recent times, after Obama of course, is Mr. Jack Hartpence, the owner, founder, everything about Power Water. Thank you, Jack. Have a seat. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you your panel for half an hour. All right, the nice speeches up there. So Cebu, Daniel, I remember a couple of years ago, in fact 8 to 10 years ago, you first met Professor Muhammad Yunus at the One Young World Conference in Dublin. Kofi Annan was there, Professor Yunus was there, and back then you were one of the guests, one of the audience members, a young student or a young, what you can say, a Kickstarter. 10 to 12 years later, you're now one of the panelists at his conference. So round of applause to Daniel. So Daniel, you have been helping us, being one of the leading change makers in Kampala, Uganda, working with Kampala International University. Professor Mpeza is here from there. Hello, sir. So just briefly to talk about what were you doing there for the past 13 months. We also have a video, mind you, for 5 minutes. So after you give the introduction, we will showcase the video for sir.
Thank you very much, Sebo. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am profoundly honored to be here. Indeed, we usually talk of the American dream and all those. Mine is an African dream come true because indeed when I met Professor Innocent, I met him, he didn't meet me, first of all, to make that clear. When I met him in 2013 in Johannesburg for the One Young World, there were quite a lot of people speaking there and really high profile. You've mentioned some of them. But I can guarantee you, the only words I remember were from Professor Yunus then. I met him again the following year in Dublin, and I still don't remember any other speech apart from his speech. And really reason because he spoke to my soul at that time. I'm an economics graduate, and so I always had a problem with the economics that they were teaching us. One time I asked my lecturer, and indeed we were talking about education, the education institutions. We're talking about development, how the measurements and everything, but I'm like, okay, all this is happening, but do we care about the equity? For example, if the equality, if we are making so much money in the world, does it really speak to the last person in the village? He said, that's an issue for politicians. I said, okay, and I lost morale, but I had to continue, of course, and graduate and go ahead and do studies. So I started working in the bank. Which, of course, when I reached there is a CSR policy for the institution. It was Barclays Bank at the time. And then I found they had a policy where you actually, as employees, are encouraged to go out and go into communities, get gatherings and talk to the people there and help solve them, but mostly specific in the areas of financial literacy. So from the time I was there for almost 7 years, I was a community champion volunteering. That's how I got the sponsorship to the One Young World, and then happened to meet Professor Yunus. So again, it's for being faithful for the little that you have that takes you places. So fast forward, I met again the rockstar, the cowboy Shazib again, on the team that was in 2015. We had a good friendship there. Today I also wanted to wear tennis shoes, but when I go back home, they will ask me, my parents will ask me, that's not right. So we met again, and then he said, let's start up something, SBYN, promoting social business, bring again, it's almost the same concept here. It didn't go so well because we were all starting at the time, but the networks were good. And so, fast forward, he introduces you to me, and that's how we got to the Ebizibubugaga project that we're doing in Uganda in collaboration with Kampala International University. And we're basically sharing the concept of social business, leveraging social business for youth empowerment. Where we're doing it in 4 regions, northern region, eastern, central, and western. And I can guarantee you it's been an amazing project. We have over 20 universities we've engaged. We actually now have a problem for the institutions we didn't consider, like secondary schools and how they were going to come through, and vocational institutions. They're saying, but this is something that we need to play in the space in. So it's, I think the video will give more of the highlights.
Perfect. And another key aspect about this is the YSBC, the Kampala International University. They were also a collaborator here. That's the first time a YSBC has been in charge of a global national program in East Africa. So Zaha, if you can start the video. It's a quick one.
If we imagine today what kind of world we want, and that's the world will be created.
This project is a social business project where we're trying to leverage the concept of social business in empowering our young people. This program has been run for the last 13 months and has been targeting educational institutions, community-based organizations, and to be specific, secondary schools and universities. We are looking at how we can empower youths both in school and out of school to be able to turn their situations, their dire situations, into opportunities to create value.
At Gulu University, we tell these young people that solve the problem and the dollars will come. Don't start complaining that you don't have the money. Go out to the community, identify a problem, solve it, then the money will come.
So that's why it's called Ebizibubugaga. Instead of looking at problems, Ebizibu means problems. Instead of looking at problems and shining away from them and seeking to give the responsibility to other people, we look at them as an opportunity for us as young people to provide solutions that will not only help the society within which we live in, but will add value not only to ourselves, but to also to the young people and other members of society.
We want to establish a demonstration center, in fact a demonstration farm, where we train farmers on hands-on skills, and also we provide them with high quality seeds, and then we link them to high input soaps, and also we can also look for market for their products.
We are ASPO Katanga, and our project is all about recycling and managing waste. We are making sure that waste is not wasted. That is our slogan, waste not for waste. What we have in plan is to make sure that the waste is disposed rightly, human waste and other waste. We are planning to work on different slums. The sample space is Katete, whereby we shall be collecting human waste or emptying the latrines that are already existing, and also collecting the organic and inorganic waste from those areas.
So right here, we managed to win 2 million shillings in a very serious competition. We are going to use this very same to call upon others as well to come up with different initiatives, different ideas to change their life.
We
we are so glad because we have won, as you say, we have won 2 million, and this 2 million will help us to promote our project, because the project that we had, we were planning to start constructing buildings using these plastic bottles. But now we were still lacking some funds, but now we have got the fund and we are really going to begin our project.
Well, the thing that I see about the world, what it should be, it's all question of imagination.
It's great to be here for the first time, physically, because when we started the project, there was COVID. That was actually the time in which I also joined the team. And we tried as much as we could to leverage on technology to really connect the ecosystem. And over these 3 years, we reached over 1 million people, also streamings on social media. And we had over 3,000 people joining from East Africa, from the region, into these East African Pad Days, we call them. The initial idea, was to connect the ecosystem locally in East Africa. But then what we saw, time by time, is that a lot of people were also joining these programs globally. Because I liked what Beth before said, this spirit, entrepreneurship spirit, that you even have a word here at ISOL, if I understood it correctly. This is what really is inspiring, I think. We always have maybe this mindset to bring entrepreneurship programs, but it's really what we need, and this is what we do at the Grameen Creative Lab, is really to connect globally. So we always carry out these programs, like the Young Challengers program, where we invite over entrepreneurs from all over the world, South, Global North, to merge together and solve problems together as well, because that's where you can get really these synergies and knowledge from other parts of the world, and that's where the magic happens, really. So this is really what we saw. A lot of then people from these programs joined our global programs, and this is really, if I have to say, the real impact, I think, was to have this magic happen. Now we have international teams working from all over the world to solve problems together as well, yeah, and Daniel was one of the first people I saw in these meetings, always there every year, and it's amazing what you guys did in this year. So really, congratulations.
Thank you. It was really difficult for us, in the pandemic, doing everything online through Zoom, as Professor Yunus was saying. So it's great to be back. I wish we were here a couple of years earlier.
Yes, definitely.
Thank you, Maria. And my next panelist, Ms. Sadia, Grace Under Pressure. If you could just talk about the collaboration that Yunus Center had with Wawa Ventures in implementing the social business design competition and the fiction challenge as well. What's it about and the impact that we have reached through it?
Yeah, thank you so much. Hi everyone, my name is Sadia Hussain. I'm the CEO of Wawa Ventures, and it is also my first time in Nairobi, so really happy to be here. Just to kind of share very quickly on the work that we've been doing with the Yunus Center globally is, the social business design competition. So this is one of, it was really interesting to see how many applications came in. I remember we had hundreds of applications, and actually more than half of them came from the African region, right? So which meant that this idea really resonated with the youth of this continent. And the whole idea was to is to inspire people to come up with social business models to tackle problems that we're currently facing. So I think it was really cool to see that those applications, and we had 10 of those teams come in. They went through a learning journey, and 5 of them completed it, and it was really cool just to see the diversity of ideas and the kind of challenges that they were trying to address. Another competition like that was our social fiction design competition, right? And this was also quite crazy because we hear about science fiction, but we also wanted to kind of bring this term social fiction up in the radar and really help people imagine what kind of world of 3 zeros look like, right? So we also had hundreds of applications from 43 countries, and we have selected the top teams, and they're also going to go through a learning journey right now. But this is the work that we've been doing with the youth. But we've also been supporting entrepreneurship support organizations. So one such project is the East Africa Social Business Ecosystem Builders project that we are currently running. We have, in 4 countries, which is Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, and Rwanda. And here what we want to do is support, nonprofit organizations and ecosystem builders to design better incubation programs, right? Accelerators, innovation challenges, all with the hope that this will help support our youth to become entrepreneurs, right? And even if you're an employee, that's as long as you have the entrepreneurial spirit in you. So I think that's the work that we want to keep doing, not just in East Africa, in Asia and around the world, to really, take this idea forward that you can become a change maker yourself.
Thank you, that's very insightful. And also an interesting thing was the design competition and the fiction challenge. Design competition was launched to another YSBC, which was called the Catholic University of Zimbabwe. That's even beyond East Africa. So it was amazing to see how our impact reached outside of East Africa, and it's growing every now and then. Thank you, Sadia. Can we do these competitions on an annual basis now, given the response that we get?
Why not? I thought we saw a really good response, and I think we can do even better next time.
Perfect, perfect. Thank you, Sadia. Jack, over to you. We saved the best for the last. So if you could run us through a journey, like how long was a walk from Manhattan to Nairobi? But if you were based in Mombasa first, right? So if you could just talk about your journey, how you became an entrepreneur, leaving your Wall Street career behind, and secondly, why did you choose water?
Check. Thank you so much, Shihab. And thank you so much for the entire Eunice family for having me. It's an absolute honor to be here. I'm Jack Hartpence, originally from New York, but I actually live right down the road, so I pretty much could have walked here. So my journey into entrepreneurship was an interesting one, as probably all entrepreneurs are. I was in a near-death car accident, August 23rd, 2017, where I was hit by a tractor trailer, a lorry, going around 100 kilometers an hour. And as I saw the truck coming, I had one question, which was, what have I done for the world? What have I done for other people? And my background wasn't in Wall Street, although that might have been the same narrative. It was actually in US politics. And the best way to answer that question probably isn't working in US politics. And so I began thinking, what are the world's most pressing problems? And if that's the question ultimately I'm going to face at death, how can I live my life in accordance to that question? And that really drew me to water. And that's because all data supports a claim that water is the foundation for quality of life on Earth today. And from there I began looking into, okay, what does the water landscape look like? What does the NGO landscape look like? And one thing that really struck me was the average shelf life of an NGO-led water project in Africa, which is less than 18 months. And man, does that not seem sustainable. And I was really held up on that, and then one day I'm driving down the road again, and I'm a big believer in serendipity. So when the universe throws you a sign, listen. And Dr. Eunice came on the radio. He was on NPR speaking about a world of 3 zeros, and how you could use social business to affect things like the climate crisis or water or energy. And it almost felt like he was speaking directly to me. So I remember I pulled off on the side of the road, listened to the entirety of the interview, and then I bought a world of 3 zeros. And shortly after that, Ellie, my business partner, told me, why don't you write him a letter? And so I did, and this was back in 2018. And then a couple of months, it was the most expensive letter I ever sent in my whole life, by the way. I think it cost like a couple $100 to send it FedEx to Bangladesh. And shortly after that, I got a call from Shazib saying, hey, why don't you come to the Global Social Business Summit? And then from there, as any entrepreneur, it's all about just building momentum. And so we started by seeing if we could invest into water social enterprises, water social businesses here in Africa, as well as in South Asia. And it was through that experience and really some advice from Dr. Eunice that we decided to build a digital solution for the water problem, which is bringing trust and transparency to the private water market that serves over 2 billion people today. And yeah, and so a lot of small steps is how I got here, I would say, over time and a lot of time. And so yeah, it's great to be here.
Thank you, Jack. Just to carry on a bit further, the last time we were here with Baba Ventures and Shazib, we saw that Dr. Jill Biden was in Nairobi, and she was talking about the drought situation in Kenya. Like, this country, amazing as it is, has witnessed the worst drought in 40 years. So how could like government policy or even startup social business founders could cater to that? I know your business is in city areas, in certain neighborhoods in Nairobi, but outside of Nairobi, what's the scenario? If you could just like throw some light on.
Yeah, that's a great question. Thanks, Shiab. When you think about water, I think, and climate change, there's something that always, a great quote, which is climate change is water change. And I think one of the ways that we're going to feel climate change as humanity is really with water. And that's both depleting of traditional water infrastructure and resources, but as well as rapid urbanization, right? The cities in the world growing the fastest are here in Africa, they're in South Asia and Latin America, and they already have the biggest problem with water. And so we need to be very thoughtful in how we approach this. And I think we need multi-stakeholder engagement, but there's certainly a massive role for entrepreneurs to play. And maybe I'll just highlight one of my favorite entrepreneurs who just actually was up here, Beth Kogi, who's running an air-to-water system. Right? And so basically, Magic has systems where they can produce water out of air. And that's creating new types of water production. And I think we really need to start getting creative in how we think about water. It's one of the biggest problems we face today.
Exactly, that's absolutely right. If I can get Daniel's attention, so if we come to Kampala, in the capital city of Uganda, what are the couple of major social problems that are out there that a social business can solve? Or if you're talking about a youth movement, 30 clubs, maybe 100, can draw attention to those problems. If you could just share with us.
Thank you very much. Yeah, that's when we call this project Ebizibu Bogaga, it's because if you hit the tabloids, if you hit the news, every other day, the issue that is most outspoken is there is a problem here, there is a problem here. It's either water, it's either food, it's either hunger, and they're saying the next word is government. It means government help us. So we have a very large youth population. When I went to the Wanyangwa, I was a youth then. But 10 years plus after, they still say the youth are our biggest advantage and the future of the continent. But the youth are outgrowing their youth now, and they're still facing the challenges that we have. So unemployment is, of course, number one. Okay, poverty is always number one. That's the biggest enemy we have. But majorly because of unemployment, we used to have seasons that were predictable for agriculture because, that's like our backbone. Agriculture is our backbone as a country. Now the seasons are changing because of climate change. You can't now, the farmers find it difficult to even predict when to start planting or not. So we have every sort of problem. And when we're doing our trainings, we say we have the raw material that we need, which is the problems. Whether it's energy, we still have over 70% of our country not able to access electricity, so they are doing a lot of these small lanterns together with all the challenges that it comes with. Reading at night for children is a problem. So we have a very large opportunity as social business entrepreneurs to actually go and practice this, because certainly the institutions that are there trying to solve these problems are NGOs. And NGOs are also limited at a certain scope. And we usually tell guys, if we are looking for freedom as Africans, then we need to own our solutions. Because the next time you annoy this NGO and all their funders, they will say we are stopping the funding. Then what happens to the people who are benefiting from that solution? So now the young people are very interested in owning their solutions, the solutions to the challenges that we have, and in a sustainable way. That's why social business, the 3-0 Club agenda, has been really a fresh breath of air for all of us.
Fantastic, thank you. Maria, just a quick remark from you. So Grameen Creative Lab has been doing programs all over the world, in South America, in Europe, in Asia. So do you find, when we were implementing our program in East Africa, do you find parallels in the problems that the East African youth had or the communities? Like, are the problems very similar to the ones in Bangladesh or in Eastern Europe or South America? My point is, like, are there similarities in problems which can have like a similar solution that would cater to that problem or a social problem?
There are absolutely similarities, but of course you also have adapted, like you need to adapt the context of each country, right? So that's exactly also what we always trying to do with our trainings is we try to tackle really this unleashing of creativity and innovation, but then of course any kind of training that you do, any kind of like process that you do, you need to adapt it to the local context. So what we see, for example, as a common opportunity across everywhere is a bit technology. Like Professor Yunus said, technology, we need to like differentiate between, it can be a course, it can be an opportunity. But also what we always say is that young people, they learn to use the technology very quickly. They can learn and lead in defining also, you know, like how can we use technology to solve these problems, and how can we use technology like how can we contain the damages of technologies. So I would say there's for example, a common approach in the sense that we could leverage on, because technology can also be like more a global scale, can be like, and there's also like some solutions from one side that can be very easily implemented in other like parts of the countries, and that can really inspire. For example, when we were like in Bangladesh at the beginning of this year, and we visited the digital healthcare centers in the rural areas, and for me it was mind blowing because I'm like a daughter of a doctor. And I had to like see the medical system like in Italy and how it works, etc. And it's totally inefficient. Also like in Europe, and like I saw the most efficient ever clinic in my life. And I went back and I told my dad, like, dude, like, this is the kind of like answer I would give, I would say.
Correct. Sadia, you were talking about before the panel that you had some other exciting ventures that's going on, which involves youth and beyond, if you want to share some of them.
Yeah, I think what I really want to share with the room here is Wawa Ventures as a company, we're quite young. I think over the last 7 years, we've been incubating and supporting entrepreneurs, and you know, around 70 entrepreneurs who have collectively impacted the lives of 900,000 people in Bangladesh. But our vision for the next 7 years is much bolder, and I would say bigger. And we want to continue supporting, entrepreneurs, and through them the work that they're doing to impact change around the world. And you know, we have set ourselves a target, like we want to hit 2 million in terms of the people that we serve. And we will also want to incubate and invest in 100 social businesses around the world, right? So we really need everyone in this room to come join us in that journey to really make this happen. Because one, we know we can't do it alone. Two, I know we can do it better if we join our forces, right? So I think that will be my invitation to the room. Like, let's collaborate, let's talk about more, how can we work together and really make the change that we need to make right now.
Great. Another angle would be like, of course, we are investing in social businesses, and actually we want to have thematic proof that are they working, or how can we make them better. In that case, academic research also plays a big role, and that's where I think Yunus Center, we are partnering with East African universities, from Tangaza University to KIU to Makerere and Strathmore's. So we have this academic research program that is on. The applications will be coming in, and the online link is open. You can visit Yunus Center's website and get it from there. So we have some funds which builds capacities for doing academic research in these universities. Universities who doesn't have an academic research program, they can still build one through the nurturing of this. And our YSBC, Glasgow Caledonian University, they are being part of it. Professor Cam Donaldson is one of the co-chairs of it. So investing in social business, training them, incubating them, side by side, academic angle research, that's a great
amazing, like getting everyone involved, so that we can make that change sustainable.
Lastly, Jack, I had the privilege of noticing you in one of your weekly meetings with your teams back in your office in Karen, and I was like, you were taking the lead role, you were quoting inspirational stuff like to them, like trying to deal with the operational challenges that you face on a day-to-day basis. Sometimes the trucks don't show up, or there is a leak somewhere else. So how would you say, or what would you say to the youthful entrepreneurs, the young entrepreneurs? Like, how can they focus on the grand vision? Like for you, it would be access to better water at a better price for communities who don't have them, right? So while you're dealing with these operational challenges on a weekly basis, it becomes difficult to see the big picture. So how to balance it out, and what would your advice be to the young entrepreneurs out there?
Yeah, thanks for that, Shihab. That's a great question. I think for us, it's all about the customer at the end of the day, right? And delighting the customer. And if you're able to delight your customer, then your business is doing a good job. But if the customer isn't happy, then that's a really big problem. And so focusing on who is that customer, and what are the things that they need to be happy. And then also one thing that we do at Powwater is we have full transparency into not only the financial health of the business, but all the challenges that we face, because what we're really trying to do is build a team striving for a common goal. And there's a great quote by one of our investors: you want owners of a business, not renters of a business. And so the other thing we do is everyone on our team has equity in our company. And so they actually are a business owner, right? And we want them thinking like that. And so that's something that we continue to press. Hey, you know, what does this decision look like as a business owner? And I think transparency is really key there, because if you're not speaking about your challenges openly on the open floor, especially for an early company like us, I think you're losing a lot of opportunity for innovation. And so that's how we think about it. And yeah.
Great. Sounds easy peasy, but when you do it, it becomes difficult. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we are almost out of time. There was supposed to be a Q&A session, but if you would like to if you have any specific questions to my panelists, you can reach out to me or the Unicenter's website or someone at Tangaza. I can share their email with them. And I just want to say it has been very insightful listening to these beautiful people and about their work and their struggles and difficulties and their success. And when I was in Bogota, Colombia, talking at a workshop at one of our other YSBCs, one of the students, the young leader, said that when I started this movement in social business, people said, "Oh, don't go. There's no structure. There's no certification. What to do about it? You are going to get lost in the wilderness." He said it in Spanish, and to which he replied to the audience that I am the wilderness. So it's okay to get lost, but if you follow apart, if you stay true to your heart, you will be found and you will find yourself. And good luck on your journey in social business. It has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much. Thank you to my panelists out there.